Tom Bower, the legendary royal author, is sharpening his quill for a new edition of his book set to reveal huge secrets inside Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's marriage.
I thought, is she not contextually aware? She's trying to hide something. This is really sloppy.
There's nothing original here.
I hope you're having the best birthday you've ever had. Thank you for everything.
Which is really such a fake. When she was younger.
Hi, Nanny. I got an English award.
100% a bully brat.
I think when I was 30, if I thought about 50, I thought that is an awful long way away. And I don't really need to think about it. And then I blinked and I'm 50. That's crazy.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
It's great things, but the reality is not that. The reality is she's a joke.
What they need to do is face up to the blackmail that's coming from California and in some way or other undermine Harry's and Meghan's credibility.
That was her goal. Hashtag goal, to marry Prince Harry. She's absolutely ruthless.
This is Meghan's first trip to the snow. Your dad took her up to Big Bear.
I think the palace and the machinery of the monarchy needs to take Harry and Meghan more seriously and make sure that Harry and Meghan's antics don't impact the future of
Meghan is living a life that she's winning and she's doing.
There are so many telltale signs that something is clearly wrong with Meghan. And I don't mean it in a bad way, but I mean, how can you get your age so wrong? Did you know that in 1997, when she met Yasmin Bleeth, when she claims that she was working for Humphrey Yogurt, age 13, she also, or somebody with the name Meghan Markle, filled out a questionnaire for Sears, the company, claiming that she was 21 years of age.
Because she was an actress who became a real princess, who wants to be an actress again, but has to continue to pretend to be a real princess.
What if one of the biggest royal mysteries wasn't about the palace, but about a birth date? That's the explosive question shaking royal watchers right now after Tom Bower dropped a claim that reportedly has Meghan Markle's legal team scrambling behind the scenes. Bower, the hard-hitting royal biographer known for digging into powerful figures, is now raising serious doubts about whether the Duchess of Sussex has been completely truthful about her age for more than 2 decades.
I choose people who don't want to be written about on the whole, whose lives are shrouded in mystery and they want to hide their secrets. And I just love digging away to find out what they don't want to.
And this isn't being framed as simple gossip. According to his investigation, the story is backed by a trail of records that people are now examining closely. We're talking old magazine archives, university documents, and accounts from individuals connected to Meghan's earlier years.
Today felt like the perfect day to address a theory that many people out there have been speculating on, that Meghan Markle has lied about her age. Is she actually older?
When these pieces are placed side by side, Bower argues they reveal a timeline that raises questions. The picture he paints is complicated, detailed, and dramatic enough to make a Hollywood plot look basic. But here's the twist that makes this situation different from many other Meghan headlines. This time, the discussion revolves around paperwork, documents that are meant to be official and consistent. And according to several royal commentators, Meghan is reportedly very frustrated about these claims being pushed into the spotlight.
Is Megsy really lying about her age? Now, when you Google her, it says that she was born on the 4th of August 1981. And with today being her birthday, as of me recording this video, it's saying that she's 44 years old.
To understand why this is getting so much attention, you have to know who Tom Bower is. He isn't a random gossip blogger chasing clicks. In Britain, he's known as one of the most relentless investigative biographers around. Bower has spent decades writing about powerful and controversial figures like Robert Maxwell, Mohammed Al-Fayed, Simon Cowell, and even Prince Charles. His reputation comes from long investigations, speaking with huge numbers of sources, and double-checking facts before publishing anything. Then in 2022, he released the book that sent shockwaves through royal coverage everywhere: Revenge, Meghan, Harry, and the War Between the Windsors. The book sparked massive debate, presenting Meghan as highly strategic, ambitious, and determined to rise inside elite social circles, no matter how challenging the path became. But one chapter in Tom Bauer's investigation grabbed more attention than the rest. The section focusing on Meghan's early life, her Hollywood beginnings, and the timeline of her rise suddenly became the center of intense debate. Because according to Bauer's research, some of the numbers simply don't line up the way people expected.
That's the thing about Meghan. She's a very, very deceitful person.
Meghan has publicly stated that she was born on August 4th, 1981. Based on that date, she would be 44 years old today. That timeline has appeared in many profiles and biographies over the years, but Bauer claims he found information suggesting something very different.
Meghan is a consummate survival actress. You raise this extraordinary beginning of the year when she carved 2025 in the sand. And it's a very, very interesting image that it came out on New Year's Day this year, because the previous weeks had been absolutely turgid and torrid for her. She had been dubbed Duchess Difficult again. There had been allegations of bullying.
Tyrant in high heels.
According to the material he reviewed, Meghan's real age could possibly fall somewhere between 48 and 52. That isn't a small gap or a simple mix-up. If true, it would mean a major difference in the public timeline that has been shared for years. And when Bauer began talking about these findings, reports say Meghan's team reacted quickly as the story started gaining attention. The first piece of evidence people keep pointing to is a magazine article from March 1997. In 17 magazine, on page 90, a feature reportedly lists Meghan Markle as being 21 years old at that time. But if her birth year were truly 1981, she would have only been around 15 or 16 in early 1997. That creates a gap of about 6 years, and that detail has raised a lot of eyebrows.
Metadata of the picture says that it was taken on May 8th, 2019. And he was born on May 6, 2019. Can somebody please explain that to us?
Bauer didn't just mention the article and move on. According to his account, he checked physical magazine archives, confirmed the publication date, and verified that the article was real and printed as stated. That means one of two things would have to be true. Either the magazine made a very large mistake about someone's age, or the information surrounding the timeline has not always been consistent. And the situation doesn't stop there. Bauer also pointed to an older version of Meghan's IMDb profile that reportedly listed her birth year as 1977 instead of 1981. That discovery created even more discussion online, especially among people who closely follow entertainment industry records.
And not a surprise here because, yeah, she lies a lot about her stuff. We've caught her in so many lies. Her own sister has come forward, her family, everybody is exposing the lies that she's been telling.
In Hollywood, age can affect which roles actors are considered for, and some performers choose to present themselves differently early in their careers. Bauer suggests that could explain why different birth years appeared in different places. He even claims to have screenshots showing the earlier listing. Then there's Northwestern University, Meghan's alma mater. Official information shows she graduated in 2003 with a degree in theater and international studies at age 22. On paper, that timeline appears perfectly normal, but Bauer argues that when you compare it with the other records he uncovered, the story may not be quite that simple.
Stupidly put out so many dumb lies, the car chase, etc., that now nobody believes anything they say. And that's scary and dangerous because it sometimes puts us off in directions that we need to be better about. But man, the more and more I look at and research this stuff, I'm not obsessed with these two. I'm looking at them with a very clear eye.
Except there's one major problem that keeps raising eyebrows. Tom Bauer didn't stop with magazine articles or online profiles. He went further. He reportedly tracked down people who studied with Meghan at Northwestern University. He looked through alumni directories, examined old group photos, and compared timelines from that period. And according to his investigation, something about the age range didn't seem to match. Many of the classmates connected to that time are now said to be in their early to mid-50s today. Not early 40s, but 50s. That difference alone sparked a lot of curiosity among people following the story closely. One photo that keeps getting mentioned comes from Northwestern's Salsa Club. In the picture, Meghan is standing in the back row, smiling with a group of about a dozen other students. It looks like a normal college photo at first glance, but Bauer reportedly reached out to several people who appeared in that same picture. When he asked them about their birth years, several of them reportedly gave similar answers, the early 1970s. That created another puzzle for people reviewing the timeline. Because if Meghan were born in 1981, she would have been noticeably younger than many of the people in that group. So the question some commentators raise is simple but dramatic. Was she a much younger student who simply spent time with older classmates? Or could the timeline around her age be different from what has been widely reported?
I have to ask, is this woman crazy? Is she that much of a liar, or is there something deeper? Because just to give you another example, she claims that she was 13 years of age when she started to work for Humphrey Yogurt, in spite of the fact that Humphrey Yogurt has said that they have never employed anybody at age 13. Number two, she claims that when she started working at Humphrey Yogurt, she ran into Yasmin Bleeth, and that she congratulated Yasmin Bleeth for her deodorant commercial. Yasmin Bleeth didn't do that deodorant commercial until 1997.
Bauer suggests the second possibility might explain the pattern he believes he uncovered. One former classmate who spoke with Bauer anonymously reportedly said, "We all knew Meghan was older than she claimed. The person described it as something people casually noticed back then, but not something that caused much discussion at the time. Now, though, the topic has gained new attention, because critics argue that if details about age were presented differently in the past, people may start questioning other parts of the public story as well. And then things take an even stranger turn. Thomas Markle, Meghan's father, has given many interviews since her marriage to Prince Harry. Over the years, he has spoken openly about her childhood, her career path, and family relationships. But when the topic of Meghan's exact birth year reportedly comes up, observers say he becomes noticeably quiet. Tom Bauer even interviewed Thomas Markle while researching his book. According to Bauer, when he asked directly, "What year was Meghan born?" Thomas paused before responding. Then he reportedly said something unexpected. "You should check the records yourself. No clear year. No confirmation of August 4th, 1981. Just a short reply, telling people to look into the records themselves."
August 4th, 40 years ago, Meghan was born, and she was born as a C-section, so she was put in my arm.
That response only added more curiosity to a story that was already getting intense attention. That moment raised a question many people immediately started asking. Why would a father need to pause when asked about the year his own daughter was born? For critics following Tom Bauer's investigation, that hesitation only added more curiosity to the story. Bauer also spoke with Samantha Markle, Meghan's half-sister. Samantha was born in 1964, and according to Meghan's commonly reported birth year of 1981, the two would have a 17-year age gap. But Samantha reportedly told Bauer the difference didn't feel that large when they were growing up. She explained it by saying, "We were closer in age growing up than people realize." That statement immediately caught attention because it doesn't perfectly match the timeline people usually hear. If Meghan were born in 1981, Samantha would have already been a teenager when Meghan arrived. That creates a very wide gap between siblings. But if Meghan had been born earlier, somewhere in the mid-1970s, as some critics speculate, that gap would shrink to around 9 to 11 years. Suddenly, the picture changes completely. In that scenario, the two sisters would be much closer in age, which lines up more with Samantha's memory of having a younger sibling who was close enough in age to spend time together and play while growing up.
Little sis. I would have loved to have had siblings, so I'm so excited to be pregnant that Archie has some.
Now shift the focus to Meghan's acting career, because Bauer also examined that timeline closely. If the 1981 birth year is correct, Meghan would have been around 25 years old in 2006 when she appeared as one of the briefcase models on the show Deal or No Deal. For many viewers, that age seems perfectly normal for someone starting out in television work. But Bauer claims that when he reviewed her early career path, the timeline appeared more complicated than expected. In the early 2000s, Meghan was auditioning for many different opportunities: small television appearances, background roles, commercials, and minor parts that rarely received much attention. Like many actors trying to break into Hollywood, she was working hard just to stay visible in the industry. That kind of struggle is actually very common in entertainment, but critics point out that casting decisions in Hollywood are often heavily influenced by age categories. Younger actors are usually considered for entry-level roles, while older performers are pushed toward different character types. Some commentators argue that Meghan's career path looked similar to someone trying to secure a breakthrough role while facing strong competition in the industry. She eventually landed her biggest television role in Suits in 2011, playing Rachel Zane. If she were born in 1981, she would have been about 30 at the time. That still fits within a reasonable range for the character. But critics who question the timeline argue that if she were significantly older, the casting choice would have been more unusual.
When she was 12 years of age. So there is something that is not connecting. There is something that is not right. And I haven't been able to get a hold of a birth certificate, of a copy of her birth certificate. So if any of you can get it for me, please do so. So I started getting some emails from some of the subscribers, and they said, what if Meghan Markle was adopted? What if there more to her birth than just her age? Could it be that she doesn't know her own age because she's been lied to by her father and mother? Could it be that's why Doria doesn't have a bond with Meghan Markle? Because what mother leaves her daughter when she's 3 or 4 years? Okay, maybe she went to jail. Those are the rumors.
And then there's another detail that sparked conversation online. When Archie was born in May 2019, his birth certificate was initially filed with the standard information used in official records. The document listed the mother's full name as Rachel Meghan Markle, which matched the formal name used in many legal records. However, weeks later, the certificate was reportedly amended. In the updated version, Meghan's first and middle names were removed, and the document instead listed her title, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. That small change immediately triggered debate among royal watchers who were already examining every detail of the timeline. Tom Bower reportedly looked into this situation very closely, and what he claims to have discovered surprised a lot of royal watchers. According to sources he spoke with, changes like this are extremely unusual when it comes to royal birth certificates. In fact, several palace insiders allegedly told Bower they couldn't remember another situation where a similar modification happened after the document had already been filed. That detail alone made the story explode across royal commentary circles. So the big question people keep asking is simple. Why would Meghan make that change? Bower presented his own theory. He suggested the adjustment may have been about limiting the paper trail connected to her legal name. Because when the name Rachel Meghan Markle appears on official documents, those records can potentially be cross-checked with other paperwork. Things like school records, past applications, identification forms, or other historical documents could all theoretically be compared if someone decided to investigate deeply enough.
Professionally, they've gone down dramatically, and I predicted it in the book, but even I would not have thought it'd be that accelerated. I think personally, they've separated their professional lives, but I think what's really a great problem for them now, as of in the last few weeks, is that Meghan has got no real income anymore. She's finished.
Right.
The Netflix series is over. There's no great podcast. They don't generate any money. And I don't see where she is going from.
And according to Bower, if different records ever showed conflicting details, that could trigger even more questions. His claim is that removing the full legal name from the certificate made that kind of tracking more difficult. Critics who agree with his view say the move looked unusual. Supporters of Meghan, however, argue that changes to official records can happen for many administrative reasons. When Bower's book was released, reports suggested the reaction from Meghan's side was intense. According to individuals familiar with the situation, her legal team quickly contacted the publisher and raised strong objections to several claims in the book. They reportedly described the age-related allegations as baseless and defamatory. But Bower stood firmly behind his research. He pointed to the materials he says he reviewed, including magazine archives, university information, and interviews with various sources. Because of that, the dispute quickly turned into a heated public debate. Instead of addressing the claims directly in public interviews, Meghan largely stayed quiet about the specific accusations. There were no major press conferences or detailed public responses focused on the age controversy. For Bower and critics who follow his work, that silence raised even more curiosity. They argue that releasing clear documentation could settle the issue quickly. Supporters of Meghan see the situation very differently and say responding to every allegation would only give more attention to speculation. Either way, the discussion continues to spread online, and the legal side of the conversation has become complicated as well. Some commentators argue that if inaccurate information were ever placed on official documents, it could potentially raise legal questions depending on the circumstances and the laws involved. Others say those claims are purely speculative and that no official authority has confirmed any wrongdoing.
Are you telling me that that commercial, which was so pivotal for Meghan Markle, she didn't even bother to watch so she can recount the story and say when I was 12 rather than when I was 11? Because the commercial is out in the public domain, and I will leave the link for you guys to go watch it. It was done when she was 12 years of age. So there is something that is not connecting.
What's clear is that the controversy surrounding Bauer's claims has added yet another intense chapter to the ongoing debates about Meghan, her past, and the story that brought her into the global spotlight. Tom Bauer says he didn't rely only on rumors while researching his book. He also spoke with several legal experts to understand the possible implications of the claims being discussed. According to Bauer, many of those experts explained the same basic point. If incorrect personal information were ever placed on official marriage documents, it could potentially create legal complications. That doesn't automatically mean a marriage would be invalidated, but it could open the door for legal challenges under certain circumstances. And that possibility alone would raise serious questions. A royal marriage involves titles, legal status, and formal recognition within the royal structure.
And so he became hypersensitive and blamed the media for the crashes of his relationships, never thinking that they could have something to do with himself. So he's a very complicated, depressed, unintelligent man who is seeking a role and has got really nobody on whom he could rely, which is in the end where Meghan stepped in. I mean, a needy man met a woman who could help him with his needs.
If anything about that framework were challenged, critics argue it could create confusion around records, titles, and the overall legal structure connected to the family. Bauer also discussed the business side of the situation. Over the past few years, Meghan and Prince Harry have signed major deals with companies like Netflix and Spotify. Those agreements often rely on official biographies, public reputations, and verified background details. Some legal commentators suggest that if a company ever believed key information in a contract had been misrepresented, it could potentially lead to disputes or contract challenges. However, there has been no official confirmation from any company that such an issue exists. Still, the speculation alone has fueled intense discussion. Bauer argues that this is one reason the topic has drawn so much attention. Critics say the situation could be more than just an embarrassing rumor. Supporters of Meghan strongly reject those claims and say the speculation is exaggerated.
There are so many telltale signs that something is clearly wrong with Meghan. And I don't mean it in a bad way, but I mean, how can you get your age so wrong? Did you know that in 1997, when she met Yasmin Bleeth, when she claims that she was working for Humphrey Yogurt, age 13, she also, or somebody with the name Meghan Markle, filled out a questionnaire for Sears, the company, claiming that she was 21 years of age.
Then the investigation moves into an even more controversial area. For years, rumors have circulated online claiming Meghan may have had an older daughter from a previous relationship, a daughter who would now be an adult. These claims have spread across blogs and forums, creating a lot of curiosity. Bauer did not confirm that story in his book, but he also noted that there are parts of Meghan's early timeline that critics believe have never been fully explained. Some commentators argue that if the birth year debate were different than widely reported, those gaps might appear less confusing. However, there is no verified evidence proving such a claim. What exists are mostly whispers, speculation, and people who say they know details but have never provided confirmed records. Because of that, the topic remains one of the most debated and controversial rumors surrounding Meghan's past.
Can't ignore them if they keep popping up doing stuff like this. That's the thing. We're kind of in a mutually abusive, toxic relationship, aren't we? The media and Harry and Meghan, because they keep doing stuff wanting attention. Then they get quite adverse reaction most of the time. Then they react really badly to the reaction. And so it goes on.
Well, what it really boils down to is the threat they offer. If the threat was punctured, which I hope my book will do.
And Tom Bauer's book has reignited all of those questions in a massive way, because critics are now asking a simple but explosive question. If someone could be mistaken about something as basic as their age, what other details might still be unclear? Interestingly, at the end of his book, Tom Bower never directly states what Meghan Markle's real age might be. Instead, he lays out the documents, interviews, and timelines he says he uncovered, then leaves readers to weigh the evidence themselves. But Bower's overall conclusion is strong. According to his assessment, Meghan has not always been fully transparent about key parts of her personal history. And in his view, the concerns people raise go far beyond just a birth year. He argues the bigger debate touches on many aspects of her story, her background, her relationships, her path into royal life, and the motivations that brought her into the global spotlight. In Bower's interpretation, Meghan is someone who carefully built a public image over time, a polished persona presented to the world. Critics say that version of the story doesn't always perfectly match the accounts coming from people who claim to have known her earlier in life. Supporters of Meghan strongly disagree with that portrayal and say the claims are exaggerated. But the conversation continues to grow louder as more people review the details presented in Bower's investigation. So the question still hangs in the air. Is Meghan really 44? Could she be 48, 50, maybe even older? The debate continues because critics say the timeline still raises questions. And until clear records are presented publicly, the speculation is likely to keep going. One thing is certain though, stories like this keep royal watchers talking all over the world. If you enjoyed this story, feel free to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to see more stories like this, you can always subscribe for the next one.